Pokemon Emerald is by far and away the best Emerald Pokemon game ever created. But what would happen if you wanted to try something utterly stupid with it at the same time as using one of the worst Pokemon in the series? Can you beat a randomized Pokemon Emerald with only a Pidgey? We begin our adventure by proving that I can be a woman if you treat me right, collect some drugs from our desk, casually commit a couple of felonies by touching a young man's ball while committing a home invasion, and head off to find my one and only friend in life.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Jesus Christ, that's an ugly bird. What in hell's name is that thing? Okay, so I'll say this. If you go down and click that red subscribe button down below and hit that like button, if we manage to get a whopping 2 likes on this video, then I'll make sure that Pidgey gets some damn plastic surgery, because that is one hell of a mug. It's a huge goal, but I know that we can do it. So now would be the time to say that everything is randomized, so our monstrosity of a friend begins with 2 dragon type moves, Luster Purge and Sky Uppercut. Psychic Dark typing is okay, assuming we don't encounter any bug type moves, and Lightning Rod is meh if anything, so it's not the worst start ever. Going on to the name of this thing, I call it the only thing I can think of that is remotely close to the sheer beauty of this sprite. An entity so hideous that even the mere mention of its name is enough to send shivers down my spine. An entity so disgusting that to include its image in this video would make many of you puke on the spot. An entity called R9-Beat. Oh god, look at it. It's hideous. Well, the first thing to do in a random game is to try and beat our first opponent, and going into the grass, we encounter... yeah, that happened. But it's okay, I thought. I believed in R9. So we hit the Luster Purge on the Latias and promptly get our asses handed to us, because little R9 is almost as pathetic as its real life equivalent. Almost, but not quite. This is going to be a long night. Eventually, the real game began when we got ourselves up to level 9, learning an Ice-type Spike Cannon and head off to tackle Brendan. Mudkip only seems to want to use assist, so it was actually rather painless. R9 gains his 69.
Nice.
And we move on. The great thing about running a randomised game with only one Pokemon is that it keeps you on your toes. You never know when you're going to find something magical. Something like a young lass with a Mewtwo being overpowered by the might of one of the world's most useless birds. Almost like this is the way that Game Freak intended. On a brief tangent, what is it with this Pidgey and getting dragon type moves? Something strange happened at Petalburg when Wally decided he wanted to emulate us and threw out a Zigzagoon that sexually identified as a Wingull. But he skipped the first lesson of Pokemon training. Get good. Wally himself must identify as my girlfriend or something, because just like real life, he messed up and somehow that's my fault? I don't know. But we move only a little bit more confused than when we started. Well, the first gym is Roxanne, and she uses... well, actually that's a little bit redundant for this one, isn't it? She starts with a Swinub who knows Fake Out and Earthquake, and that follows up with a Rhydon who is weak to Ice-type moves, and then a colour change Ledian. Now, even trying the best strategy I could think of in just spamming Dragon-type moves, it was clear that I needed some more bulk. So R9 and I left the gym, and it began consuming all the protein-based life forms it could get its malformed beak around, coming back at a much stronger level 23. Along the way, he did try to evolve into a Sceptile, but man, that would be too much sexy in one video, and I'm not about getting demonetized for giving you lot the hots. Thankfully, one of our random item drops was an Everstone, so that won't be happening again. At this level, we were able to get a cheeky crit on the Swinub, a 4-hit KO on the Rhydon, and after much spamming, the first gym badge. It happened again, by the way, I forgot to give it the stone, rectified the situation going forward, so a little teaser of the sexy right there for you all. I've written a whole A4 page script so far and we're only 1 badge in. Strap in kids, you are here for the long haul. Outside the gym, and one of the Aqua Grunts runs away with a briefcase full of used panties he stole from an OnlyFans girl with her daddy running after him to get him back. I don't even want to know. I ended up knowing as he went into the same cave I had to go to, and trust me, you really don't want to know how bad it was. Before I could leave the city, Brendan accosts me in the street, slapping my arse and calling me Shirley. Damn, my scrot is tingling after that one. I don't condone that kind of behaviour though, so I reject his advance and move on to Dewford. I knew there was a deep-rooted reason for that tingling feeling, and here is where I realised why. It's the trendy saying being, I am hard. Ladies, Yeah, I bet you did know that all along, eh boy? You nasty creature. Moving into the gym fight with Brawly to avoid potential legal ramifications for that last line, and to be honest, it really couldn't have gone much worse. We got one-shot by his Feraligatr, and I just know now that Plonkerboy 900 is living that trendy saying, if you catch my meaning. He loves that thick gator. I'm not so keen myself, as I have to go away and level up a few times, which is always fun. Level 28 felt like overkill until we took one hit from a Dizzy Punch that has to be bug type given all of that damage. And it is brutal. I didn't have much of a chance, so I bit the bullet and came back at level 30. Another good start. Resetting, I do get through to the Meganium, but again, I'm outspared. It seems from testing that spamming the Spike Cannon and just hoping for 5 hits are my best bet up to now, but I always get outsped from that Meganium. These are my level 30 stats, with a clear emphasis on speed and both defences. Shows how brutal this might turn out to be. Still, persistence paid off and I got one lucky run where the thick boy used frustration, allowing us to move on. Sure, we got paralysed by the Octillery and I nearly had to change my boxers because of how close we got, but a win is a win. I thought I'd check whether our Pidgey was compatible with Bulk Up once we'd gotten it, just for a laugh. And then I saw it. That typing, I had that gut feeling, I just knew. When I clicked on the TM it was confirmed, R9 is on the bulk. With a fighting type bubble beam and a ground type jump kick, this might just be where my luck turned and the real challenge could begin. It wasn't. I jumped into the cave to deliver a letter to Stephen and on the way bumped into a full-odd shiny scissor. I killed it because I don't give the special kids any preferential treatment. All children get ruined when the Breph is in town. Wait. No, that came out wrong. Dropped the letter off and made my way to Slateport to do some museum business. The old fossil took the briefcase of panties off of me and I bumped into the king of the simps. Wait, wrong script. Archie. It's Archie. Oops. He threatens us with a good time and leaves without so much as a forehead kiss. What a meanie. Brendan is next in my crosshairs after that seamless segue, and on the way I encounter and catch a Ralts. I have a plan for this thing, but not for now. Keep it as a treat for later. See if you can't guess what it is anyway, down in the comments below. Brendan was a bit of a pain. I don't know where his Mudkip's gone, it probably evolved into that Shiftery if you ask me, but all I do know is that 3 HP is not a lot of health left. That's right, I'm a hardcore gamer. I know how numbers on a health bar work. After that fight, I claim myself another Ralts, it's all part of the plan, don't worry, and head up to Moorville where I get to challenge Wally again. Although he can wait. I leave both my Ralts in the daycare and go off on a little jog. It doesn't take long before I have what I need. An egg. Oh, no, not because I want to overpopulate the world with Ralts, but because I'm hungry and fancied an omelette. That's a darker joke than it first appears, by the way. Right, Wally. His horsey tries to skull f*** me a couple of times and only stops after a couple of solid whacks from my pigeon. My god, I do chat some bollocks sometimes. The old man in the gym leads off with a freaking Raikou. And guess what? Tackle is bug type. It one-shots us, and speaking of shots, it's about this point where the sobriety ended and I broke out the Sambuca. On my best run, I was on the edge of my seat. A critical super effective fighting bubble beam on Raikou one-shot. I pulled a miracle out of the bag with Dustox. Spike Cannon was super effective on Jolteon, allowing me to survive his water spout, a move I am very familiar with. And then the real challenge began. His final member was the dreaded Sunkern. With sweat on my brow, I chanced it, regretted it, and fell before his little seed. The odds of repeating that were outrageous, so I left, leveled up a few times, collected another egg for an even tastier omelette, and came back on the nice round 40. Raikou hit hard, drained a super potion, but went down easily enough. Dustox came out and I risked it for a chocolate biscuit, but made off with the old packet, getting bulk ups off and finishing with Spike Cannon before it could harm me. Jolteon tried, but just like when your parents broke out the coat hanger, ultimately failed. And Sunkern stood no chance. On the level ups I achieved Godhood, Electric type Mega Drain, and it's effective. No matter what it tried, that little seed replenished me with every suck I made on its health, and that marked the end of the tutorial section. This is where the real challenge would commence. I knew I was onto a winner when youngster Dylan pulled out a Kyogre. I knew the challenge had not commenced only a few short moments later. He was easy. My challenge would have to wait, at least until after the cutscene in Meteor Falls. Out the other side, we make it back to Rustborough, and this is where the real challenge began. Actually, I lied in the title. This is a can Breph hatch an egg without losing his sanity video. That's right, I have to hatch an egg. Brilliant. All I'll say is that a lot of alcohol was consumed in the making of this video. To bring it into context, here's a time lapse of exactly what happened. Yeah, it appears in this game that Ralts and Ralts make Electrike. Amazing. All of that for nothing. Well, I had a contingency plan for this one. I've released the Mama Ralts, his cheating ass, back to the wild with her kids and head back to Rustborough to get the thing I came here for. The trade in this city requests a Ralts, and in return he offers me a... Are you kidding me? A Shuckle. Oh, screw this. Light Ball, Grass type, damn Shuckle. Hehehe, gonna be one damn past Shuckle when I'm done, boy. That's right, they don't call me the Shuckle fucker for nothing. Bring them holes in here. Where was I? Oh, right, yeah, Volcano. Maxi leads off with a Heracross, and that is one tough bitch to conquer. Spike Cannon does next to nothing, and neither does Mega Drain, which means it must be Ghost type, given that it's immune to Bubble Beam. In other words, I'm buggered worse than an altar boy's arsehole for this one. In the same token though, Brute Force does work, but it's still painful. Spamming my way after a few bulk ups finished the Heracross off, and Cubone presented a chance for me to replenish health with Mega Drain, and in all honesty, that was all I needed to beat him off. Speaking of beating off, Flannery's up next, and my god did I give her a few good goes. Why Not begins the fight with a Dragon Rage, so I set up a couple of bulk ups. Chikorita I know from a prior fight is weak to electric, so I did the only logical thing and used Mega Drain. Typhlosion is where the issues began, and it was resisting Mega Drain and my 85 base power never miss ground type Shockwave. And on top of that, Bubble Beam does next to nothing. I died here many a time. Along the way though, I did learn Spike, fighting type, and I chose to replace that for the paralysis option over the speed loss of Bubble Beam. Deoxys comes out next. Yeah, she has a freaking Deoxys. It's weak to ground though, so a couple of those beasts later and that's enough from her. Next stop, time to go and bust my balls out to dominate my daddy. At this point, I knew the real challenge had begun, after the first gym trainer uses a Moltres that took most of my PP before succumbing to its power. I knew I was in hell when the second gym trainer had a damn jump bluff. My god, I hate those things, and this one showed why. Resisting all of my moves should be a crime, and it's a crime it paid with its life. Paused the challenge for a few minutes to get my exam results from my last university exam, drank 6 more shots as a result, take that how you will, and jumped into the fight with Norman. I don't think my daddy bought the right toys with him. His first was something that likes to bounce up and down, something that was very easy to set up on and dispatch. He then bought a very suspicious shaped thing, very firm as well, could take a fair amount of punishment. His third could be only described as a rather little, clam. And his final choice was an Articuno. I wish I could say I'm joking, but no. A bouncer, a phallic bug, a small clam, and some flaps. My daddy knew just how to get me going. Oh, and get me going he did, right back to the Poké Center, because his selection of toys proved to be a little too much for R9 to take. But you know what? They don't call her R9 beats off for nothing. A few levels later and daddy can't take it anymore. He collapses to his knees, completely and utterly drained of all energy, and we're moving on, licking our lips with anticipation. Said anticipation leads us up towards the Institute, just as Todd Howard expected of all of us, and ultimately the fight with Brendan. He was an idiot. Mine unhurt more than it should have with those icy balls, and Snorant set up hail, and otherwise did jack all apart from kill the fight off with hail damage. But we all know that these mini boss fights all pale in comparison to the conquest that is to come. Madame Le Flaps herself, Winona. It's time to fight Winona, right? Wrong. That honour goes to the stupid woman with the parasol and her Regice. Just an overgrown jump luff if you ask me. It resists all of my attacks and I'm running out of things to say besides how annoying this is getting. Why did I think this was a good idea? It's time to fight Winona, right? Wrong again. It's actually time to fight Rayquaza. Yep. Princess Fiona's Swamp Night Fun Time, trademarked to Disney, toy was found lying in some grass. It didn't last long. 2 shockwaves and that was that. Now it's time to fight Winona, for realsies this time. I had really high hopes for this fight when she led off with a Torchic, but I ended up standing there, mouth agape, wider than the arsehole of Nick a cunt. No, we're not making that joke. It really isn't worth it. It hit me with 2 Psychics and a Twin Needle. Oh, this thing was evil. I bulked up on the second attempt and hit a Shockwave. When Graveler arrived, I took a punt at a Shockwave. Thank God for that. A couple of hits and not only did I feel better, but it was gone. She brought out her Rayquaza and I knew, bulked some more and hit it hard. She must have found the same toy we did. I don't actually even want to know what she did with it. Exploud comes out and I try the same, but I realise it must be flying type when my ground type move wasn't missing. Oh, fuck my cunt and call me Daisy. When my ground type move wasn't effective, and guess which smart cookie is packing an electric move? Hitmonchan was scary when it started sharpening those gloves into some maniacal weapons, but it really didn't pose a threat. Winona marks our 6th badge and the point where the real challenge begins. It would have done had I not checked the power and typing of Aerial Ace. Just like with Bulk Up, I knew this was the one. A special attacking, never miss 95 base power, always going to hit dragon type move was always going to be part of my playthrough. Why? Because I'm a drunken pleb who cares not for the intricacies of strategy nor the deep complexities of Pokemon games. I'm but a simple man who enjoys hurting tiny and not so tiny wild creatures and enslaving them to do the work for me. Stop typing that tweet, Peter. This is video game animals. Animals in the real world are much less valuable. The next step of the game is pretty boring. I struggle to free myself from the sweet scent of Winona's discarded toy. My present self told my future self to do one. That's a throwback to the start of this video, eh? And a group of lonely men decided they were going to meet on a mountaintop for some afternoon activities. Trust me when I say I didn't want to know. Really, I didn't. But curiosity got the better of me, and let me tell you, I have major life regrets. What I saw up there will stay with me from now until the day I embrace the cold, bony arms of death. All 3 of them, if you know what I'm saying. It was Archie, pulling out of some old, wrinkled lady while her husband sat next to her, watching her all the while thinking about how he can't use his wrinkled, flaccid pig to please the old goat. The important thing here is that you and your dad learn this lesson. God knows we don't need any more little versions of you running around the planet. Having taken thorough notes on the lessons needed to be learned, I ran off to relay them to Maxie in the volcano. He was less than impressed that the company he ordered turned out to be a 10-year-old girl and a discarded fetus of Frankenstein's monster, so naturally he decided to attack us. Unfortunately for Maxie, I grew up in the Catholic Church. I know that when old men come at you, make sure to shut your mouth. From then we dip into Slateport to watch a 1000 IQ play as Archie decided to board a submarine that's underwater and the captain stands before us, flies wide open, and we begin our work with a simple saying, "I'm the captain now." Our first task as captain was to head to Lily Cove to flush out the bowels of the hideout, but I got distracted. I just couldn't resist it. The bloodlust set back in. Brendan must be dispatched once and for all. He starts out the fight by revealing his anal beads and immediately putting R9 to sleep and doing unspeakable things to it that shan't be named. Nothing really interesting happens until he brings out his Kyogre. I knew I didn't have anything to hurt it, so I just sat up and smacked away until it dropped down dead. I mean, I must have killed, what, half a dozen or more legendaries in this game so far? And this is why I love randomizers. Aerodactyl's up last, and well, it's weak to Shockwave, and that, as they say, is that. Brendan runs off like the little beta boy he is, and we move on over to the point where the real challenge begins, and oh boy, we're in for a three-way. Tate, Liza and I get all up to work, lathering our balls and throwing them out there. You know how Liza is supposed to be a girl? Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but hers is bigger than all of ours. Not threatened by the prospect of a good time, this is where my shuckle is at its best. Out and ready for use by two other people. The first time did not go well. I have no idea what any of these mons are, and it's a 2-on-1. Let me tell you, it was a very sticky experience. I tried it all, as is usually the way in solo challenges. Level 60 was just not strong enough. So like a couple of angsty teens on edge behind the dumpsters at school, I began to grind. And just like those teens, I didn't stop until 69.
Can somebody give me a higher?
Now, something strange happened here. The AI didn't want to attack my buster on the first turn, allowing my only non-damaging move in Whirlwind to work. Technically, I did not just use a Pidgey to beat this fight, but seeing as you can't even start it without 2 and it's level 19, I'm taking no blame for the fact that the AI didn't give themselves the immediate advantage. Let me show you my stats and moves at the end of the 7th gym. Ladies and gentlemen, get your halloumi, your brie, your Stilton, your cheddar, because I have gone full cheese. Pidgey could learn Calm Mind. That's right, I have a never miss physical move, a never miss special move, a physical attack and defense boosting move, and a special attack and defense boosting move. If any abominable snow pigeon can beat this game, it's this one now. The only drawback are the stats. We're relatively fast, all things considered, like my mate in bed, if you believe the women I've spoken to. I'll bleep out his name, but he knows I'm talking about him. And we can definitely take a few hits with those defensive stats, but offensively, I think a wet dishcloth does more damage than us. Still, it should be fun. We got our first chance to test it out when we're ambushed by 3 strapping fellas upstairs in the Space Centre. They learnt they couldn't threaten me with a 3-on-1, I was alright against that, and they all learnt that the hard way, all puns intended. It's here where the real challenge began, remembering what the hell I'm supposed to do. I know these games like the back of my hand, and I forgot what I was doing. I skipped a few steps, went down to Sotopolis to discover it for later, and even down to the cave to meet the aqua grunt at the door. Wait, an aqua grunt at the door? At this point in the game, you shouldn't have access to dive, so they've blocked off the progression. Damn smart thinking from Game Freak, fooled even a drunken pleb like me. Backtracking up to Big Steve's shack on the rocks, grab the HM for dive, and finally we can head down where it's better, down where it's wetter, under the sea. Fun fact for you all, it is widely known that water is not wet. That things submerged underwater cannot be wet until they break the surface and come into contact with air. It's also a widely known fact that even when fully clothed me is out from under the water, we are still nowhere near as wet as your mum when she hears my voice, CPC.
Now that's edgy as fuck!
That's a little reference to episode 2 of Plebcast, the episode I recorded in February and still haven't put out even though it's now September. Archie Timon, what even is the point? He's stupidly easy in any playthrough. Hell, we're 7 badges in and his grunts are still using unevolved Poochyena here. It really isn't a big deal. Move on. Did you know that when in Sotopolis, if you turn the walk-through walls cheat on and approach Stephen from behind, nice, you're confronted with this mess? Me neither. We learn something new every day. I, for instance, learnt that besides the fact that Wallace and the whole Cave of Origin was up Kyogre's arse, that Liam Neeson's long, thick, green sabre can be found at the top of Sky Pillar. And we aren't even talking about Star Wars either, he should probably get some antibiotics for that one. On the way, I bump into a swimmer that's got Plonky Donkey Dick 900 firmly attached to her hip. What a simp. Hang on, actually. Hashtag PlonkerSimp900. Let's try getting that trending on Twitter, shall we? Spam it in the comments too, so I know exactly who's made it to this point in the video. I did say it was a relatively long one. Up the tower we go to poke a lizard, save the world, and head into the gym to fight Juan, the final gym leader. He starts with a pine cone, I have a bird. I set up and get rid before too long, and then, if I'm honest, I just gave up trying. I set up a load of times on his knob slime and just went down on the rest of his team. Deoxys thought he could do something, but in reality all it did was take up one more point from Shockwave. Really not much else to say. We're in the end game now, and here's the Wally fight while I talk. Finally, the end of this crap is in sight. Please, never, ever do this to yourself, anyone. It really is not worth the mental energy. For some reason, this randomized game with a Pidgey sounded like a good idea. It isn't. It really, really isn't. I've been sat at this desk now for the best part of 10 real-life hours. I'm not even at the Elite Four, let alone the post-night clarity match with Stevie Boy. And oh yes, I'm doing it. To put that into perspective, I can get, with all of my usual cutting of corners, etc., a video in base Emerald recorded in just under 3 hours. In a ROM hack, it's closer to 4 or 5, depending on which one. Things like Kaizo and Radical Red take much longer. This has taken me 2.5 times longer than expected, and I'm still not done. There's a bottle of bleach in the bathroom, and I've got an empty shot glass. It's tempting, but maybe I'll treat myself after I'm done. The first step towards that is Sydney. Oh, and on the way out of Victory Road, might have found another full odds shiny Torkoal. Killed it too. Still no special treatment for the special kids, even if the extra saliva production would make for an excellent Right, Sydney time. Mohawk Man begins by showing us his pussy. Cat. Got you there. He shows us his actual pussy straight after. Don't be fooled. I know latex when I see it. His best Pokemon was Tentacruel, and that really should tell you enough about this one. Ghost Girl is second, and she leads off by putting us in the gloom. Once I got hit by Return, I knew I was safe to set up, and set up I did. Not enough though. Bug-type Tackle is back, and it still hurt like hell. But a swift spanking at the hands of the amalgamation that is known as R9 beats, and damn, I have a semi now. That Why are you currently stroking my arse? That semi becomes a full-on hard as ice when I saw the wrinkly thighs and twinkly eyes of Glacier. And then her Igglybuff slammed me, over and over and over. And R9 just couldn't resist it, it's bug type. Never mind, back to the drawing board. I settled on not restarting the whole Elite Four and levelling up. I decided I needed RNG. Slam had missed before, and I reasoned it could do it again. I thought that if I could get 3 set up on Igglybuff, plus 1 Calm Mind for afterwards, then I could be okay. I wanted half health, I needed 2 misses minimum, preferably the early 2. I got them, then got greedy and died. Even managed to beat a Poliwrath a couple of times, then Steelix hit me with Psychic and killed me too. Now I don't know the base power of Psychic, but I'm willing to wager it's ridiculously high. I do know that it's bug type, and I'm 4 times weak to it. The bulk ups aren't saving me, and I need Calm Minds to deal with the flying type Steelix. I needed more levels, and that's what I went and got. 7 of them to be exact, because that's how many rare candies I'd managed to get my hands on during the run up to now, and, well, deal with it. I couldn't deal with her though. Look how many I got set up on Igglybuff. Then I had a moment. I checked my items and I saw it. Twisted Spoon, boosting Psychic type moves, Psychic stab moves. And then I looked at Dive. 2 turns, 1 away from damage, stab, and boosted. If I can get 3 Calm Minds, this has to be it. And it was. It would have been anyway, mind you. I managed to get so many set up on the Igglybuff that the extras were just overkill. But Glacier has been conquered for the first time since Professor Birch's first divorce, and finally, we move on to Drake. Wish.com Lance is the final Elite Four member, and I'm sticking with the strategy of spooning and diving. For his first trick, he tried setting up. He basically gave me free reign to do that myself, and we all know who's coming out on top for that one. Shockwave mostly swept after that. 1 shot and his whole team off to Skiploom, and we're on to the champion. Wallace started as a pain. A Mankey with Leech Seed. Essentially getting hit with a move like Toxic, Leech Seed, Curse, any of those would spell the end for the run. Without any way to get rid of it, we'd be dead before long. So I can't set up on Mankey and I just have to dive. I tried setting up on Bellsprout once, but it just paralysed me, and that meant we ultimately lost further down the line. This was going to require either not getting paralysed or brute force. I only had setting up on my mind though, and that's exactly what I did. Get your finger out of my f***ing arse, girl. I lied to you earlier when I said I wouldn't tease you with the sexiness of seeing the third person sprite for this creature try to evolve again. Here's one more, for the bank gentleman, if you know what I mean. Regardless, our Pidgey, simultaneously over and underpowered, has entered the Hall of Fame, and only one man stands in our way before completion of this challenge. We ascend the waterfall, enter the cave, encountered not one, not two, but 3 Articuno in a row, and the real game can finally begin against Stephen Stone. It didn't go particularly well, not even when I leveled up into the 90s. I tried it all. Numel had a physical type water gun and Mimic. I tried betting it out with Calm Mind, but it resists Shockwave, so I needed the lower special defense. I tried betting it out with Bulk Up, but then that undid all of my setups. I settled on maxing out my level first, it only seemed logical. Now nobody can ever see the pure, raw form of sexy that is an Emerald Pidgey sprite evolve into a Sceptile. But Wigglytuff knew Psychic, and of course it's Bug type. I needed maximum bulk ups and Calm Minds, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me how I was going to do it. And then it hit me. I just had to do what I do best and brute force it. I needed the max, and I got it. 6 bulk ups and 6 Calm Minds. Stephen knew I wasn't going to be gentle. In fact, it gave him flashbacks to the time he left his number in a London phone box and made the mistake of meeting up with someone who called him. He hasn't sat down the same since. With an R9 beat of its wings, Pidgey beat Stephen and proved that you can in fact beat Pokémon Emerald randomized with only a Pidgey. Never do this, that's all I've got to say. It's worse, for me at least, than a normal playthrough of Kaizo. Before I go, I just want to say my apologies for the hiatus in between videos. My sister had her baby, so I became an uncle, and the little man is living with us until I move back to my new flat in a few weeks. Expect the videos to come more frequently from now on. I have a few in the works, including a naughty little Shuckle run. Anyway, it's been a relatively long one for me, so thank you all so much for watching. Huge thank you to the channel members. If you want to join, check out down below. And I wish you all the best. Hope you're staying safe. And I look forward to seeing all of you, and hopefully some more, in the next one.